Woohoo!
Oh no, the sales pitch.
I know.
Woohoo!
Oh my gosh. No stand-ups, please. 10-minute stand-ups at jobs, right?
Stand-up meetings.
Stand-up meetings.
Okay, we're back. This
So,
is Paddles Up Sunday.
Yep, Paddles Up Sunday, and
But if you live across the world, it's Monday.
yes. So, we were talking about grace, giving ourselves a whole lot more grace, and you know, we make these big. Here we are. January was this 15th, and we by now a lot of us have either stumbled or fumbled or whatever on our New Year's resolutions, and so let's talk about that, giving ourselves grace and what this whole thing is. Why do we even put these pressures on ourselves? You know, yeah, it's good to have goals and
Maybe.
all that kind of stuff. But yeah, even the goal. What if goal making is part of the ego? We set ourselves up for failure. Why can't we just be in the moment and just taking the next step? And, you know, of course we've got to have aim of what we're shooting for. But,
yeah, look at it. Yeah. So go ahead.
Go ahead, dear.
So solution. We want a solution. Remember what we talked about
Rev up
before?
your solution.
We want a what did we talk about? We want a solution, we want a resolution, and we want a conclusion.
And we want an absolute. Like, we're going to make it this time.
Yes.
We're going to be.
Where does that come
you
from?
share about how you wanted to be an Instagram model at 55. And you kept
Not a model.
Like he was gonna do
I'm not, hello.
like
Not a model.
She wanted to be all
No, here's the
ripped
deal.
and-
Here's the deal. So I wanted to not a model, dear.
At 48, it first
No.
started. Didn't it first start at 48? You're like, by the age 50. I'm
No,
gonna
by the
be-
age 50, I wanted
gonna-
to just whip my shirt off on Instagram and just.
With
It
a
wasn't
six-pack.
It wasn't a vain thing. It's not a. It was just to say, okay, because taking your shirt off on the beach and all that for some people is a big deal, and I wanted to, like, by the time I was 50,
Feel good.
just feel good enough to be able to do that and just to take a quick picture and put it on Instagram. We're not talking about naked here.
No.
We're just talking about the shirt up from the flow up, this kind of
The
thing.
accomplishment.
So it was one of those things where I just wanted this resolution. We're talking about New Year's resolutions here, and a goal. And I had planned on doing that. Well, I miserably failed. I wanted the
He hit a hard depression when 50 hit.
oh, get this, Michaela Knight.
Hey, Michaela.
So get this, at 50, buck 50, when I was 50, I was, oh yeah, wow.
Yeah,
So
it wasn't happening.
I went through this quote midlife crisis, and it wasn't planned at all, but the reason why I was going through it wasn't going to taint my spirit, but my body, my soul, my mind, all of that kind of went through this thing that a lot of midlifers do. And what happened was, I kind of saw this coming, but I didn't want to admit it. And I was feeling what every man felt when they hit 50. And it was like I was feeling it all. And it was just like a heavy, heavy coat that I was wearing for months.
Yeah, months, probably into a couple of years.
Yeah, probably.
That was rough.
Yeah. And so my whole plan got shot to smithereens when
Which furthered the depression.
So I forget the model with the, taking the shirt off on Instagram kind of deal. I was like, yeah, I could do that, but I'd look like Michelin Man.
Then you felt like more of a failure.
Yeah. So then
You couldn't keep your goal.
I
So then you
couldn't keep
pushed
my
it out
goal.
to 53. By 53, I'm going to give myself.
Yeah. But here's the good news, guys. Internally,
Yes.
here's where we don't see it.
That's where the six-pack was forming.
Yeah, I had an internal
spiritual
six-pack. You know what I'm saying?
Six-pack was happening, being
So
built.
what was happening is there's this internal growth happening that we cannot see. We think it's going downhill fast on the outside, but this is why we don't look at outside circumstances.
Yeah.
Michaela knows this.
Yep.
We talked about this, where internally everything is growing leaps and bounds, even though it may not, quote, feel like it. We don't go by feelings so much when it comes to this growth thing. We do follow our feelings when we feel our way through spiritually. You can do that. But when it comes to this growth thing, a lot of times it's unseen. But guess what? When you come out the other side of it and you open your mouth, you find out, wow, because I didn't come to a conclusion. Remember our message on conclusions. Go back and listen to that if you haven't. It was awesome. Good. But we're talking about blowing your New Year's resolutions right now. And oftentimes what we do is we come to a conclusion. This is what my goal is, and this is where I'm set to go. And when it doesn't happen, we implode and we go eat the third box of donuts. Or we go and we have whatever your vice is, right? You go and have your third chocolate bar or your third latte or whatever to try to drown out that feeling of disgust that we have for not, quote, making the goal that we had set. But we may have well set it in the egoic realm, saying, I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm going to cut this person off no matter what and get them out of my life. They are bad news for me. They're a low vibration. They're out of here. And when we do that, we come to a conclusion and we cut that thing off, and then we find ourselves going, okay, wait a minute. I didn't let that unfold naturally and organically. And when we do, then we don't have to come to these conclusions. New Year's resolution, I'm going to drop 30 pounds by January 31st. Yeah, and when it doesn't happen,
cut dry.
Pendulum swing.
And not realizing that the ego, you know, when you're making that shift, it like doubles and triples everything to lock you back down to the old program, because you're awakening right out of that old program, the old paradigms. And so it's freaking out, but you're so close to overcoming in that moment. And so what do we do when we get so close to go through that door and we sit down right at the doorstep and have whatever, right? And then it's just somehow we just got to shake it off though and give ourselves grace. And this is why we love the phrase, you're allowed to feel that way. You're allowed to have a moment. You're allowed to sit down right at the door before you cross over, and then breathe and get back up and go again, and go at your own pace.
Yeah, that's what we do with pancakes.
Yeah. So, okay, you guys know us. We're always usually on the health trip here. And because we are passionate about it and we know the truth. See, again, right? You know the truth, the revelation of it all, but you have your moments, or you allow yourself to have cheat days, you know, and we've gotten really good at this, where we don't beat ourselves up like we used to.
Oh man.
And so we'll try some stuff. We'll have some pancakes that, you know, healthier version, of course. Or we'll have, like, we had our Mods pizza, our, you know, vegetarian version of it yesterday.
Cauliflower crust.
But as you're growing, though, again, the internal is changing and your vibration's already going up. You go back to it, and actually that sets you free, because you're like, wow, this has fallen flat. This does nothing for me anymore. You can see where you've outgrown it, and that actually becomes your deliverance. See, what you thought was your setback can actually become your deliverance, because that contrast is showing you how far you've actually come. So if you can look at it that way, like, wow, thank you. Okay, that was good. That was an opportunity. You know, and
it really is.
You get right back on track, and you start craving the higher things, that, you know, the fruit and the vegetables, and just better quality things. So it's amazing how that works, right?
Yeah, it can go with any.
Tate Nader, all right.
Hey, Tate. It can go with anything, right? Say you go on vacation, or you go get away, and you've waited a long time to do it. You go to Lake Tahoe or something. You know what I'm saying? You go to Lake Tahoe, or you go to if you love the snow, or you go to Hawaii, or you go to Fiji, or whatever. And you go away, and you have this nice relaxing time, and the pendulum swing is this. You go back to work and back to the people that you just left that were stressing you out, and then you get bummed out or depressed because you're not in that beautiful, quiet, sacred place. The thing is like, you feel like you've blown it somehow, or you want to get back there in a hurry because all of these people are just, quote, you know, tainting your life now. And we live by these pendulums, don't we? It's like we have a New Year's resolution. I'm going to do this thing, and I better not blow it this time. And then we resolve things in the egoic. And anytime we try to anchor down in the egoic, it's an illusion. The illusion is that I can sustain this. And you know what it's like when you see somebody operating at a high egoic capacity. Yeah, I will. Whether spiritually or not, they're operating out of this high level of this egoic realm. and they are just burning and blasting through things and destroying lives and destroying their own life in the process. And so
yeah, and often we're running
they're
from the
using
thing.
up their energy.
Yeah.
They're using up their energy. So you cannot sustain that in the ego.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is to drop 18 inches down and live out of heart-centeredness. And then there is great grace to, quote, mess up or blow it once in a while, that when you fall off, you get right back up. It's contrast.
Yeah. And
when you see contrast, you know what you don't want anymore.
right. And maybe that's at a higher level, at your spiritual growth journey, that's the very thing that needs to happen, because that's the thing that's actually anchoring you. So like, you have your downfall or you mess up or whatever, and now you're in this state that actually leads you to surrender and actually look at what is the thing that this is actually coming from, that I am reaching for this food item, or I'm reaching for this or reaching for that to push down and suppress the whole or whatever. And we heard the most awesome, simple phrase is, you've got to feel it to heal it. You have to feel it to heal it. And a lot of times we're making these resolution goals because we're running from something. And if we're really going to do it right, this 23 or whatever, right, is we got to feel it to heal it. We've got to go there this time and not run and make all these new identities and new resolves and new goals, but actually sit, okay, I just had a setback. What do I need to feel? What do I need to embrace? What do I need to love to heal it? Otherwise, it's just going to keep coming up louder and louder, and then we're going to keep beating ourselves up and keep going in these cycles, right? And so, but it's not being allowed anymore these days. Everything, the light is getting shined on. And so we're stuck in this place of having to really choose. So what if our resolution is, I'm going to actually sip at this thing. I'm going to feel it to heal it, and say you are allowed to. Be allowed to vent and get it out. Be allowed, say you're allowed to do this and go there and just get the pain out.
Because you have...
Write it out if you have to. If you don't have anybody to talk it through with, then write it out.
Yeah, and what is addiction? Addiction is just trying to avoid your situation, your circumstance, your pain, and we run to something for a quick fix, but we're not going to the core of the issue, where we allow ourselves to drop 18 inches down into heart-centered freedom. The freedom of this right here, this heart sphere that says, okay, I've got you. Let's go deeper than the thought pattern. So when you go into soak and you go into receive from the Lord, you go into receive, and then you watch the thoughts go by like they're going by on a river. Okay. You just let them go. You don't anchor into them. You just let them go by. Oh, I got to take care of the dog. I've got to go do this appointment. I've got to pay the bill, whatever. Just let them fly by. I'm a loser, all those things. When they keep flying by, if you sit with it and send love to that frequency, and just allow love to hold you, allow love to hug you by sitting there and receiving. That's it. It's as simple as that. What does a child do? A child that's not squirming gets up in their parent's lap. When it's not squirming, gets up in their parent's lap and just receives. That's as simple as that. Then you go deeper. You drop into that heart-centered realm where everything's provided. Everything that's provided that takes you out of addiction is there. And then it begins to rise. And when it begins to rise, then the reaching for the extra wiener, the hot dog, you're reaching for the queso medias and the taco lalitas and all of those things, right? Casa y bechas and all of those things that are addicting to us. It's okay to go have tacos once in a while, right, Tate? But when we get addicted to it, when we have to have mas tacos every single day, then we love our dog.
I can hear it. Oh, Johnny, don't go there, Johnny. Don't go there.
I know. So you know what I'm saying. I'm just messing around a little bit. But the idea is, when we reach for something, why are we reaching for it? And then when we break that resolution, or we break that promise to that goal,
I'm just a failure.
Then I'm a failure. Okay, where's the I'm just a failure coming from?
That is where your breakthrough moment is, right there.
Exactly.
I had mine. I had one last night.
Yeah.
Where I when you're just vulnerable and you're in a weak state and you're sensitive, and all of a sudden just stuff starts coming up, but it's a moment, because I get hit you know, if you're doing the Enneagram deal or whatever, I think I've got some strong type 3 in me too, which is a achiever. And their greatest fear is failure and disappointment or disappointing somebody. It's the same with Enneagram 1 and 2. I think of 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
And so that's such a fear spot. So when we're having to go in and apply love to these areas of fear and stories we've told ourselves, man, it's so freeing and healing. And so I was just talking it through with John last night. I'm like, what is this thing? What I need to go underneath it. I need to feel this. I need to send love to it and get underneath. What is the belief? What is this reoccurring belief? And where was the wound at? And not to go in and dissect it, of course, right? But to
you allow it to rise to love it.
Let it be known and see it. It just needs to be seen. And then of course see the belief operating behind it, and is it true? So it's
and
just
then
amazing.
Let the love permeate it. Oftentimes in Christian land, what we want to do is rebuke it. We want to see something that we don't like within ourselves, and we think it's some little imp demon running around or something that we need to rebuke. Well, how's that working out?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't work out. We tried to rebuke COVID by the millions. Millions of us around the planet were rebuking COVID over and over and over again, and it stayed with us.
Yeah.
Right? So why? Why? What's the underlying thing? Well, a lot of that time was so that we could go face to face with Father and see what's going on underneath of it all, underneath the thought patterns, underneath the belief systems, so that we could become really healed. A lot of us think that we're healed when we don't know that we're not healed, right? And so other people say things to us,
beliefs.
And we're like, no, that's not me. I rebuke you, Satan, kind of thing, you know. And it's just not working out, right? So we pay attention to what keeps resurfacing. We pay attention to those things year after year that keep resurfacing in our life.
Yeah,
that's becoming self-aware.
And
when we're self-aware, we pay attention to what keeps resurfacing. So maybe it is that your goal is that you want to start a business this year or become self-employed like Tatanator, which is a great thing, right? You want to become self-employed. You want to start a Moss taco shop. And so you've got this thing in your heart to do this, and you're like, bless the Lord, I'm going to get her done this year. And so you make a goal that by the end of the year that you're going to be up and running, you're going to have all the finances, you're going to have all the funding, and then the end of the year comes and it was completely different than you thought. So what happens? You look back and you go, okay, well, it didn't happen the way my egoic realm, my egoic side planned, even though it was a heart-centered thing.
Plan.
I didn't let it unfold. There's no condemnation in that, but I didn't let it unfold. And here's where you can look back with self-awareness and say, wait a minute. I grew leaps and bounds for 12 months. Internally, I grew. Maybe I didn't get it off the ground like I thought I would, but man, did I grow. And then you take an assessment and you say, okay, wow, I had some more patience this year. And remember, guys, this is slow, steady improvement. This is not most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay, we believe in the miraculous. We know the supernatural is there. But oftentimes when you grow into something, it is the slow, steady improvement so that you can build it right. That's why you count the cost. Count the cost of it. How long is it going to take the skyscraper to build? You can't build one overnight. Even you can believe it, all the miraculous you want to. I'd like to see a skyscraper be built overnight. Now, is it impossible? Probably not. But I can tell you this, I don't have faith for a skyscraper to be built overnight. Maybe somebody here does, and that's great. If one's manifested overnight, awesome. I'll celebrate with you. But most of the time, this growth is, I go from toddler, I go through elementary school, I go through grade school, high school, college, if that's in the place, or we agree with immersion schools more than university now. Yeah. But anyway, there is a cycle. So if you have these plans and these goals, I'm going to be married. You're single. And you're going, I'm going to be married this year. I want a man, or I want a woman.
Have a baby at this age.
I'm going to have a baby at this. Yeah, how many women?
I'm going to be a lawyer at this age. I'm going to be. Oh man, it goes back to James. How foolish to plan your whole life out.
Oh,
What's it? The mirror says, "Don't be so cocksure of your dream."
I love that word. Cocksure.
Don't be so sure.
Don't be so cocksure.
Oh my gosh, you don't
about
even
yourself.
know what tomorrow brings. It's just nuts. So, I mean, you know, we've been watching a lot of near-death experiences, and they're so amazing because you really get to hear what's happening on the other side. And, you know, what is the end game? What is the end game of this whole thing of why we are here? And so many of them say you're here, that on the other side, your greatest desire, your pursuit is spiritual growth. And so that's why we come to Earth, because we're wanting to be at Earth School because it's a massive acceleration of contrast and all these things that help you grow. And so here we are in our little egos after we dialed down out of our divine, amazing, eternal beingness into these little egos that, oh, I just need to build my building. Oh, I just need to become a lawyer. Oh, I just need to be all these things. And the whole time, our angels and God and everything are working us out with our spiritual growth. And those things are in contrast to help us grow. You know, the relationships, the jobs we're at, all these different things.
The business not working out.
We're so focused because we're so into the game. We're so focused on our identities that we forget this whole thing is about our spiritual growth and development, you know, and learning to love.
Yeah.
Learning to love through every scenario, circumstance, person, place, or thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, here's another one. So I won't give any names. It's not wise to just, you know, blow somebody's name out there because they're still in growth process. It's none of my business. But you paint this scenario because of this subject is, you know, people can have really strong faith, and faith is a good thing, right? Mm-hmm. But if they've been conditioned to believe a certain way from their childhood or a certain way through religious conditioning, through a doctrine or dogma, then they'll be heaven bent on having the faith have a certain outcome in a certain way. And this one individual, he's really well known in the United States. He's a faith preacher. And I remember everything was just being nailed, like, man, I'm believing for this and it's happening. Just boom, boom, boom. It's like that honeymoon stage that stretched out to an entire 20 or 30 years worth of ministry, right? So everything I touch turns to gold and it's boom, boom, boom. And then one day he hit a big boulder in the road, so to speak, and everything came crashing down because it didn't work anymore. The faith, the scriptures, all the formulas and all that just didn't work anymore the same way that he was used to be doing this, right? And so then he began to question. He's like, man, that must be a big principality or power. So then he went at it with spiritual warfare for months and months and months, and that didn't budge, that didn't move. So then he figured out, well, wait a minute.
Times are changing. That's
not it. So then he went in and started soaking a lot, started meditating, soaking a lot. And then he found out it was, here was the message to him from the Lord, was, I allowed you through my grace to have the cookies. Put your hand in the cookie jar and get all the goodies. But now I'm going to deal with what lies underneath of the surface of all of the goodies coming to you. I'm dealing now with the soul. And he began to see it layer by layer started coming off. And he found out that, wait a minute, I was deprived in my childhood of certain things. And I was using faith to get those things, thinking it would fulfill me, and his giftings, think it would fulfill me. And it did for a while. But then the boulder came. You know, when the rock falls on you kind of thing.
Ambition to meaning.
He went from ambition to meaning, spiritually speaking. So when you cross over from ambition to meaning, anybody can get the juice, anybody can get the stuff. Anybody, you know, if they believe and they work it right, they can work the miracles, baby. You can get the stuff, right? You can hustle in the spirit and get the stuff. But the real juice of the matter, the real meat of the matter is what lies underneath of it all. And that's the dropping down from the egoic and allowing the ego to be loved and put in its proper place, so that the heart can lead the head. See, when your head is leading, It's all about resolution and conclusion. And if it doesn't happen this way,
Yeah.
boy, some devil's going to pay, when the devil might not even have anything to do with it at all, right? But we love to blame entities and things. And sometimes it's the dark energies there, right? But a lot of times it's not. A lot of times it's always about us expanding, us growing, us becoming more kind, becoming more, becoming more long-suffering, becoming more patient, more loving, have more self-control so no one else controls us, right? All of those good, juicy fruit kind of things. And that, my friends, when you come across somebody that wants that as their goal, it is so attractive.
Yes.
It is so attractive. And that's what attracts the angelic. That's what attracts the help. That's what yields, the ground yields its strength back to the individuals that are saying, look, material things are nice and that's great, but that's not my goal. That's not my goal. Those things, those are a byproduct when you drop 18 inches down.
Me. Yeah, they don't have me. They're not your goal anymore.
They're just not.
Amazing. You've grown into the meaning of life, into the purpose of life. And
look, I was making just during COVID, I was making close to $200,000 a year at a job, and I was miserable. We both were. We were both miserable. Like, I'm working more because I have to work more to get this kind of money. And then the money was just like the same as it was when I was making, $80,000. And I'm like, wait a minute, what's going on? I should be making more money here, but somehow taxes and everything else just weighted out. And it was just like having 80 grand. And I'm like, okay, what is being spoken to me here? What is being shown to me? Is it something deeper? Well, yeah, something else was deeper unveiled. It was a fear of not having enough. It was a fear of, I've got to make more so that I can feel secure. And we both felt this way. And it was like, okay, now that the lid's come off of that, now we see that was from my childhood. And
this thing of not wanting to end up like your dad.
Not
so
one.
That was that underground belief.
Right. Where my dad was a millionaire at one time and then he lost it all and then tried to get it back. And, guys, this is the juicy stuff that the spirit craves and wants. The spirit wants to grow and expand and blow past what the ego demands and wants.
But the ego wants to get rid of all the expansion and experiences.
And it tries to stop you.
So we run away from it when it's those very things are the opportunities for your spirit to grow. Right?
Exactly. And so resolution, we're talking about resolution. And resolution is, I'm determined to do a thing. And when we're determined to do a thing, is that God-led or is that just from my ego? And I'm not sure. Well, the way to be sure of it is when you blow it, look at how you feel. Are you condemning yourself? Are you shaming yourself?
Shaming yourself.
And
or
saying,
is there grace?
You loser, why did you have to do that? Well, I'm going to go eat the whole pie now.
To punish
myself to feel better.
Feel even worse about myself so I can...
Exactly. And then you wind up having to get on the treadmill twice as long after that, and you're feeling bad about yourself. We know that. We've been there, done that. Wore that Planet Fitness t-shirt out. You know what I'm saying?
But when God calls you to it.
When God calls you to it.
There's a grace.
There is a grace. And then when you fall off the wagon, so to speak, you're like, hey, that's okay. That was one meal. Oh, that's okay. That was one day. I'm getting right back up.
That's right. And you crave. You're like compelled and you crave the higher vibrational foods, the healthy stuff to get back on track. So it's amazing. And again, it's just, we're all learning. We have to allow ourselves the grace to learn,
right?
The grace to grow instead of putting all these judgments and stipulations on ourselves that just bind us up even more and keep us in this low vibration where we can't hear God clearly because we're too busy beating ourselves up or fight, flight, or fear. It's just, it's
all rooted
a crazy
in fear.
Cycle. That's why we just gotta paddles up, surrender, get back into the heart, and just keep following right out of the head and into being led. Out of the head and into being led.
And then feel it to heal it.
Yes.
Drop underneath all of the brain waves and the activity going on.
You're allowed to feel it.
Yeah, that's chattering at us all the time. We all have that, by the way. There is not one person that I know of that's so super spiritual that they don't have thoughts anymore. Hello. you would have to have been transcended right out of your tuna can of a body and blow out into the bigness of who you are before, you're plagued by all these thoughts. So the mind of Christ is the mind of the ability of the heart. So it's not all this scripture memorization so I can all of a sudden just have all this mind of Christ. That's fine. That's good to memorize and all that if you're led to do that. But however, the mind of Christ is the substance of who you are and allowing it to bubble up so that it supersedes the ego's demands. That's what the mind of Christ is.
Yeah.
The mind of the anointed one and his anointing inside of you, the bigness superseding that which causes demands to say, I need a solution right now. And if I don't get it, then I'm this, and this, and this. I'm a loser. I'm shamed. I'm not gonna, I might as well just go eat the 5th hamburger now because I already blew it. This is what addicts do. If you notice, when an addict, if they're on drugs or they're an alcoholic, what they'll do is, they fall off the wagon and they have a beer and they're like, I blew it with 1. I might as well have 12. Or, I blew it with 1 line of cocaine. I might as well have 5. And what is that? That's the ego saying, yeah, look at you.
You're such a loser.
You thought you could drop into heart-centeredness and handle it? No, I'm in charge. I'm in charge. And I'm going to continue to put you in this mad cyclical cycle that's sick. And when it brings us around the mountain again and brings us around, many of us get stuck. And this is what happens with dreams. You put your hand to the canvas and you're an artist and then you mess up or somebody comes by and says, look at that. You need to fix that. You're like, forget it. I'm
a failure. I can't do this thing.
Yeah. And then you wind up throwing it away.
Yep.
And then everybody else around
coming out
you.
of your shell again.
Everybody else around you is like, what are you doing? You're an amazing artist. But yet.
So-and-so said I wasn't.
Yeah.
That's how you processed it.
What are you doing? The conditioned belief system says you're a loser. And depending on the level of that conditioning will keep us captive our entire lives. You know those people.
Ooh, the story.
Oh, man. I don't know how many times people have told us and looked at us like, man, you guys move around. Look at you moving around. And what's going on there? Stable people have the same location and the same job for 20 years. What is wrong with you, you young little whippersnapper?
Yeah.
And it's usually from the older generation.
That's stuck in their ways.
That doesn't understand. You say, did you ever think to inquire as to what we've done for the last 15 years? That's what we do. We travel and we do contract work. Oh, no, you couldn't be doing, So you have this mindset that comes in.
No matter what you tell them.
No matter what you tell them, they're going to have this religious conditioning. I was just at the gym. Oh, this is a good one. Oh, Lord. So this one, there was this older gentleman that was probably 70, 71, right in there. And this younger guy, they knew each other, and he was probably in his mid to late 30s. So the older guy asked the younger guy in the locker room, says, well, what are you doing nowadays? I haven't seen you for a little bit. And the younger guy goes, well, I work for the Department of Education now, and I work from home. And I have a 3-day weekend because of Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and so they have that off. So he said, I'm working from home. And then the older guy goes, I don't know how you do it. Man, I just don't know how you manage employees. I just don't know how you manage employees that are working from home. Right? And I go, bing, the light bulb went off. And I'm walking by and I'm going, okay, that's a generational conditioning thing. Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't understand that many people are working from home now, and it's called, quote, freedom. They can be with their kids.
They feel trusted.
They feel trusted to do the job. Now there's a few that maybe lay around on the couch and eat salami sticks all day long, and cheese. But the majority does their job. I believe that, because they don't want to blow the situation of having such a good deal working at home, right? During COVID and then coming out of COVID. So here's a generational gap that says it has to be this certain way. And see, this is where we would do well as believers saying that, wait a minute, does it always have to be this way in America? Does it always have to be this way in my job? Does it always have to be this way in relationship? No, because we're collectively ascending. We're collectively ascending in humanity. Humanity's waking up. Not just the church. Humanity is waking up. Mm-hmm. And because humanity's waking up, then the consciousness level is rising. The light is rising.
Yeah.
The waters are rising. And because they are, then we're seeing differently unless we're anchored into the egoic and saying it cannot be a different way.
Because this is all I know.
This is all I know.
Bless God.
And that is knowledge, my friends. Knowledge will anchor you to keep you from dropping 18 inches down where anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Anything can happen.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. Down here, anything can happen. And when you meet a person that's in strict religious ego, they will say this candidate has to be in, or America's going to fry in hell. America's going to burn, baby, if we don't get this one particular candidate back in office. Well, I don't know that God is that small inside that little box. I just don't know that he's that small.
Yeah, and then we go and get mad at God because he didn't do what we wanted.
Right. And that could be a city candidate, a county candidate, state candidate, or nation, whoever. And please don't think I'm talking about one person, because this goes across the board, that we're pigeonholed into thinking that God has to do it this way or we're in trouble. That's all the fear of the ego, guys. When you live out of heart-centeredness, you don't live in that fear of saying it has to be. The eggs, I'm resolved to go out and buy 3 cartons of eggs because they're $7
at Trader Joe's.
They are $7 a carton, and I've got to have 3 cartons of eggs. And if they're not there, I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh my gosh, the gas prices are going up again. Oh my goodness, COVID's happening again. Oh my goodness. And I'm like, Amy and I was just like, what's the big deal about eggs? And then we're like, we're not even taken by it, right? And then I go into the store and see, oh yeah, they are $7. Okay, whatever. You know, if I want a carton of eggs for $7, I'll just get a carton of eggs for $7. You may say, well, I don't have $7, right? Well, then maybe you're not getting the eggs. You'll survive without eggs. You'll survive without eggs.
Everything is temporary.
Everything's temporary, guys. We have to look at it that way, because if we're going to manifest the fish and loaves, the ego won't do it. The ego wants to work for a year and a half to say, how are we going to feed all these people?
Mm-hmm. And complain about it too, what's happening with the inflation. So right then, if you're complaining about it, it's already put you in a low vibration
Resistance.
where no miracles can happen. Oh, yeah.
So did you blow your resolution? Good. I hope I blow it.
There's a launching pad. Yeah, it's like that with Kyle Cease's book. I hope I screw this up.
I hope I screw this up.
He
Great
got
book.
free.
Great book called I Hope I Screw This Up.
Oh.
Because then that means that you are giving yourself grace to move through the day without delay.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're putting the ego at bay. Don't you say?
Don't you know?
Don't you know? Isn't that wonderful? Doesn't that feel good? That feels
Let's
good.
let it grace be our resolution this year, huh? Grace. Grace, grace, grace for day. It's just like Paul Young. Paul Young's living inside of today's grace. Living inside of one day
Living
today's
inside of the grace
right?
of one moment, then. You know? Yeah, send us the meme. So,
yeah, Michelle.
so the grace of one moment, the grace of one day, the grace of one moment, that, my friends, is living in this place of unveiling and unfolding rather than determination, saying it has to be a certain outcome, has to be a certain way, or else I'm not going to, a lot of times we listen to the voice of mom and dad or a sister or a brother, and we don't even realize we are. It's an unconscious voice saying that if I don't do this and look good to them, I'm in trouble, even though that we're 40 or 50 or 60 years old. We're still listening to that voice from our childhood, mom or dad.
Yeah.
Saying that it has to be a certain way.
Life. You need to do something with your life.
And we're running on autopilot, not even realizing that we're listening to that tape play over and over again instead of breaking the pattern.
Yeah. What's really going on this year, I believe, is we are really being drawn into the feeling zone of being led. And, of course, that's, generation after generation. But I think it's such a big, massive thing right now where we're not being allowed to make these resolutions. And I think so many of us are having this big wake-up call right now in January. It's not being allowed anymore.
Yeah.
And it's because we're supposed to be getting in touch. Part of the growth is being in touch with our spirits and these leads and prompts to be led in the moment instead of this is my New Year's resolution of what I'm going to be at the end of the year. It's moment by moment. Can we just be in the now? Can we just be in the eternal now? When you are in the now, you're in this eternal now moment where there's no time linear stuff, any of that.
Yeah.
You're in the now, and you got to listen and feel what is calling you to the next moment. And this is how you've got that effortless flowing life, is if you can just be led step by step, moment by moment, and practice recollecting yourself and feeling. If you get back into your head, dial it back down.
Yeah.
What do I feel? What's the highest excitement? What is exciting me next? Say you have your list of things to do. Look at that list rather than going by, well, this is at the top. Feel them out. Which one's actually calling to you in the moment? Go with that, because the other ones will fade that you didn't really need to do.
Exactly.
Because your spirit, your body, they know where you need to go. Your head will reason and logic it out. When you know that you know number 3 on that list is the one you really should be doing, or number 8 on that list. So this is where we're throwing all our reason and logic out the window, the ego of past stories and our own past knowledge, and really coming into the unknown of being led by our spirit moment by moment in everything.
That's the struggle that the disciples had, is that they had all this learned knowledge from the Torah and the prophets, and they were really good at it. Some of them were, Paul was the most highly trained individual out of all of them. You can tell he struggled with his egoic intellect for most of the time. The trip and then Jesus is just throwing bombs in there, heart-centered bombs like
to
Peter.
The disciples,
Yeah, you're like, you don't know what spirit you're of, buddy. You don't know how much of your ego is dominating you to want to slice somebody's head off, right? And it's
to
like,
prove your
let's call down fire,
faithfulness.
James and John. Let's call down fire on these people. And he's like, wait a minute here. That's your ego wanting to feel safe and secure
and prove yourself, prove to
that
them.
you're right. Okay, could Jesus do it? Of course he could.
The fight to be right.
But that's not the spirit he was of. That's the egoic realm on fire with knowledge, saying that I want to be right in this because I have the knowledge that I am right. How many teachers do this? How many rescuers do this?
Pastors.
How many... Whoa, did you say the word? Did you say the
Did
P
you see
word?
That cow tipping just happened? Sacred cow just got tipped over there.
This is the way. This is the way. And then guess what happens to that poor little pastor? Something happens and turns his world upside down. He's like, oh, I guess that didn't work. Ooh. Right? And so the knowledge is being unraveled right now.
Yeah,
can you feel that?
Common sense is so good, Gerald. Common sense is being evaporated. Oh my gosh. OMG. Yes. That's a paddles up.
Yeah, that's a paddles up. That's a good P word, Michelle. Yeah, that's right. That's the biggie. So the knowledge is being unraveled to where we are left without answers in the I don't know beautiful bliss of heart-centeredness.
Yeah.
3 words that'll drop you right into bliss. I don't know.
And followed up with, you're allowed to not know.
You're allowed to not know. What does that do? It disembowels the knowledge. We have to say that, John. Disembowels the knowledge. It unseats the knowledge. It says, loose. blow.com. It looses this thing right out of us. And so then we drop down and then we're like, I'm left in the field of the great unknown of I don't know. That's what unlocks the treasures. That's what unlocks the mysteries. That's what unlocks the miraculous. That's what unlocks the flow and the effortless ability.
Because you're now floating on the unknown, letting the current take you. You have paddled up, paddled up, paddled up.
Paddles up.
Woo!
Paddles up. Let the current take you.
Yes.
Let the heart-centered flow take you where it already knows to go.
That's right. No
and
more
many of us
resistance.
don't want to lose that safety and security of knowledge, saying that, wait a minute, I have my nice little box here. I have the safety of my own little home with 2 guns on either side of me in each drawer, so that in case somebody breaks in, I'm a patriot of all patriots.
We know in Canada it doesn't happen. We know.
We know in Canada it doesn't happen. But in America, we know it does. And so you've got your 9mm on one side, you got your 45 on the other, and you got your
back window.
Confederate flag hanging by you. And it's like, if anybody comes in here, I'm going to blow a hole right through them, and I'm going to justify it by Old Testament scripture.
And it's scary.
Hello.
Because, scientifically, they have proven that when you're in anger, all the blood drains out of your head and you cannot think straight. So, imagine that with their guns. But anyway,
that's ego on steroids, saying that I have to be safe. I have to feel safe. What about allowing God to be our safety in that heart-centered space and allowing the ego to come in line with what's being led through the Spirit? And I guarantee you the safety that is allotted to us will be safe. In fact, we cannot be destroyed. Your spirit is indestructible. Our spirit is indestructible.
Yes.
We have to always keep in mind that. Remember when Stephen was looking up when he was getting stoned, he had a big fat smile on his face. He was like, this house called a tuna can that I'm stuffed down into is too tight. It's too restricting. So I'm looking forward. I'm smiling, saying, I want to be loosed from this tight can, and I'm going into the bigness of who I am. So having a revelation of that, really dials down the rhetoric of, if anybody walks through my door, I'm going to blow a hole in them because I have a whole arsenal full of guns. I'm not anti-gun. I have, my family we're all guns and all that. That's not what I'm talking about.
Hey, born and raised Oregonian. Mm-hmm.
Born and raised hunting and fishing.
Land.
It's the whole point is safety and security, guys. A lot of it we find in the ego, and we think it's real safety and security. I'm going to move to Texas, or I'm going to move to Florida or Tennessee because that's where the Patriots are, and I'm going to feel safe there, and their laws are going to keep me safe. Fine, if you're being led. If you're running because you're scared, that's a whole nother issue. You're probably safer right there in the middle of Chicago if, in fact, God is not leading you. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Again, get out of common sense, right? Out of reason logic, because they're like trip lines. They're trip lines for your spiritual journey. Seriously. I can't tell you how many times in my journals, my Papa's living room books, that God is telling me all the time, watch out for reason and logic. You got to put them aside. Don't listen to reason and logic. They're triggers, set wires to get you out of your spirit.
They really are.
And man, I can't tell you how many times I have given into them. My spirit says one thing and then I override it with my head. It's like,
Oh, this is so good. I'm so feeling so free. Freedom. When you have the truth.
Remember what this is all about.
A lot of us can't handle the truth. We don't want to handle it when we look in the mirror and say, look, you're fat because of this.
Feel it to heal it.
Feel the fatness. Feel the cellulite. Feel the varicose veins. Feel them until you heal them. That's the issue. We look in there and we go,
keep shaming them, so then they keep crying out to us.
That's right.
Send me love. Send me love.
I can't tell you how many times, when I look at myself in the mirror and I have this extra baggage on my stomach, and Amy goes, what are you thinking?
I have to catch
what
him because I know he's going into it.
Are you sending love to that fat cell? Are you sending love?
Like, your cells are live. They're listening to you. What are you going to tell them?
Yeah, and I go, oh, yep, I just got myself, I love this flab. No, feel it to heal it. So if you have to grab the 3 rolls and just say, I love you.
Yes.
And you really mean it.
You're doing good.
You're doing good. It's little by little. You're coming off there. I'm going to send love to you until you fall off, because it's stubborn sometimes and it won't go until you send it love and it heals.
They've proven this, you guys. They have proven the mind-body connection that, you could be doing everything to lose weight, eating, working out, all this kind of stuff. But if you don't change your story neurologically, mentally, emotionally, of what you're telling your body, it will keep producing those fat cells to protect you. And that's what they're doing. They're protecting your organs from the acidic thoughts that keep stabbing at you. So
Lord.
When you change those into this soft, loving vibration, then you'll start dropping the weight. It happened to your sister too. And she came back, she's like, John, you won't believe it. I've been speaking to my cells. I've been speaking to my body and blessing it and all this kind of stuff. And I'm dropping weight. And it's amazing.
Yeah. Are you sending love or hate to your fat?
Yeah.
That's it. That's your body. It's made in the image of God. So hello.
Yeah.
I mean, are we sending love or hate to it? Are we sending love or despise? We're despising it,
shame.
right? We're shaming it.
Which is an
If we're-
acid hit on your skin
It
and on
is.
your organs. That's why, again, fat, cellular fat it's your body producing it. It's like cholesterol and stuff. It's a neutralizer to protect your organs. And so again, shame. So then it's trying to protect.
Well, I'm telling you, it works,
your
guys.
main organs and
When I
stomach.
started doing that, I started dropping it, and I go, "Whoa, wait a minute! This is an energy game here. This really is. It's energetic."
Yeah, because
So,
they're all alive.
so think
Your
about
cells
that.
are-
Not just the fat cells. What about everything else in our life? Do we have the bills in our hand, and we're sending resentment towards the bills because we have to pay them?
Right.
Listen, that paper is energy.
Or
Those
is it
bills
happy
are
money?
energy. Is it happy money? Like our friend Ken Honda says, read a book. It's a great book. It's called
so
Happy
good.
Money.
Happy Money.
So are we sending good energy or resentful energy or bad energy towards that thing that we
Yeah.
actually got ourselves into?
Thoughts create
And
things.
They do. Thoughts create things. And so when we send love to it, even if we're not feeling that love ourselves, even if we verbalize it, and even if we verbalize it and we just say, and we don't feel it yet, something about verbalizing it causes us to believe. And so when we say, I'm sending love to this person, or I'm sending love, even if we have to bite our tongue saying it and there's some resentment still there.
Or your tip on the money to your, the restaurant. Instead of like, I have to pay this tip. I get to,
Yeah, I get to pay
it's
this.
reframing, right? It's reframing everything. The meaning you attach to it changes the energy around it, which now mirrors to you a different result. It's wild. And so again, I think, this year we're really waking up out of this unconsciousness of these patterns and habits of how we do things, how we say things, how we think about things.
Yeah.
Because this is the rubber hits the road on our life truly changing the way we want it. It's not what we've been told, right? Of all these outside
Michelle.
things. It's the inside work, the inside job of
Yeah.
awareness.
It really is. We're becoming more aware and more awake than ever. And so if you're listening to the news all the time, the choice is yours, but that's a
vibration.
very low vibration, very low frequency, because they make money off of negative news, right? So we just don't watch it. I might check in from time to time, and when I do, I'm like, ew. but
You feel slimed.
the news, the greatest, latest breaking news we can get is right here in the heart. Just listen to your heart. Listen to it. It will guide you. It will lead you into all truth. Now, I realize that some people think that the heart is desperately wicked. Who can know it? That is a mistranslation, my friend.
Man.
Mistranslation. It means that the heart is the center of all life. And if you avoid the goodness that the heart provides, then you're listening to this and you will think everything else is wicked.
Yeah.
So you have to reframe this. Reframe it, thinking that, okay, wait a minute, science has already caught up to this.
Yeah,
Science.
Heart Math. Go to heartmath.com.
Go to heartmath.com. You
Everything
can
on
read
YouTube
all about the
your
power of the heart, the energetic spiritual
brain.
side of it. It's a second brain. It's
Really,
more
it's the
powerful.
first brain.
Yeah, it's really more powerful than your brain, and it leads us and guides us into all truth. And so when we listen to our heart, then we don't come into these headlong conclusions that say it has to be a certain way.
In reason and logic.
We detach from the outcome every single time when we're in that heart flow. So remember,
Yep.
as we're wrapping this up,
Wrapping it up.
because we got to go to Costco,
Yep. Go get our grapes.
is to not be so hard on yourself when you don't make the resolution that you thought you had for the new year. You're going to blow it anyways, more than
allowed.
likely. So you might as well treat your fat cells with love. Just send them love. Just say, look, buy the cookie, eat the shoes. No, buy the shoes, eat the cookie. That's what it was. It's sometimes you eat the cookie and you enjoy eating that cookie, because if you resent eating that cookie, guess what? You're sending resentment right down to those fat cells with every bite. Instead of just saying, you know what? I may have fallen off the wagon today. I'm enjoying this cookie, but you know what? This is temporary.
Yep.
I'm going to get back in the gym tomorrow or whatever.
This is my journey.
This is my journey. And then when you do that, the grace is there to help you see the contrast, and then you may not want the full cookie next time,
Yeah.
you'll do a half a cookie.
Yeah, it won't
And you'll buy one
satisfy.
shoe, not both. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no. There it sits.
Yeah, there's the shoe drops. There it sits. Okay.
So anyway,
Love you
well,
guys.
I hope this encouraged you. It encouraged us.
We always get, I mean, seriously, we always get blessed. We walk away from this going, man, I just grew leaps and bounds through that thing, because we get just as much out of this.
We love doing life with you guys. It's just great to always see you pop on here in your comments, and we're all in this together. This joyride of Earth School. Woohoo!
Earth
So, here
School
we go.
Joyride.
Well, until next time, keep in touch, you guys.
Oh, yeah. And if you're interested,
yes.
This is a juicy good one. So we'll just drop this nugget. We're going to be doing, I don't know if any of you know who Gil Hodges is. Mm-hmm. He's from
Kingdom Talks.
Kingdom
Network.
Talks. We are,
Love you, Trace.
Gil and I are going to start doing monthly calls beginning next month, February 11th. We'll post it on Facebook and over social media. And it's called 18 Inches Down Men's Edition.
Special edition for the men.
And it's for the men. So Gil and I will be speaking to the men and the women who love them, but mostly it's geared towards men. So if the ladies want to chime in, it's all free. It's monthly. But then we have our 18 Inches Down. It's a paid family
Patreon.
community on Patreon. If you're interested in that, go to paddlesup.fun, click on the 18 Inches Down little tile there. Mm-hmm. But that's coming. So the men's edition will be free.
And then we'll add it into the 18
We'll
inches
add it
down.
into the, so that you can have that. But the community we started through leading, and it's just time to have this community. And we're putting some great stuff in there. And so if you...
we just did one this morning.
We just did one,
so tap in on that one.
But just wanted to let you know about the men's edition coming up next month. So we'll have it all posted.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Love you guys. Talk soon. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.